my people go.
Ugh.
That was definitely the most provocative song we would do at camp.
Ugh.
You just like Elvis a little bit.
Oh, yeah. If you're not doing Pharaoh with a little hip thrust.
Little bit of Elvis in there, and that's how we like to start the podcast.
We started? Oh, boy.
We're off and running.
It's going to be racy. My wife's going to hate this now. She's going to be like, Tim, you can't put that milk out there for free.
That's right.
They got to buy the cow.
She's saying you're for sale in that scenario that you just said.
My wife has thought I'm for sale for years. She would pimp me out, sell me to any highest bidder. Yes.
No.
Yes. She
way.
invested in this thing and got this thing for basically free. So yeah, if she can turn a profit on it, yeah, she'll sell this.
That's just financial sense.
I know. She's a savvy one.
Dollars and cents. Better than I deserve.
She loves me, but I don't think.
When do we
I think she's willing to part ways for.
When do we take a Dave Ramsey
offer.
spin on this podcast? When do we take that turn and we start doing call-in stuff and telling people how to manage their finances?
Like about selling their bodies?
No.
Okay, because
I'm just saying I think we've got a lot of financial insights to offer the people.
do we?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Big time. Big time. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. My name's Anthony. That's Tim. Today we are doing a very special segment that we like to call Cheat Day Devos. Cheat Day Devos. We're going to read the Bible together. We're going to talk about it. But it's not like your regular Devos.
Don't get smug about it.
It's a Cheat Day Devos. I call them Cheat Day Devos because just like when you're like dieting and you're eating really good foods, high fiber, protein, your lean chickens and whatnot.
Coming from someone who has dieted, obviously.
When are we going to take a diet turn on this podcast and just offer...
Eat your proteins, eat your chickens. Yeah, take your dieting and financial advice from Anthony.
I'm Italian. I come from the people of whom we all live to be 100 on pasta and cappuccino and cigarettes. And that is how my people live. And that's our culture. And so that's the diet I ascribe to, minus the cigarettes. And
so
plus
far,
more pizza.
So far.
But that's in there too. So it's Cheat Day Devos. It's not the necessarily like the super high mineral vitamin diet day. It's the cheat day. So it's fun. It's tasty. It's I like to think you look forward to it, but it's not like as, nutrient rich.
Yeah, there's got to be some nutrition in there. Even a Pop-Tart can sustain you for a little bit. You'll just eventually die of cancer if you eat too many of them.
Well, 2 years of college, I lived mostly on Pop-Tarts. That was like primary meal stuff. And then SpaghettiOs was my other go-to.
Mine was Fazoli's.
Oh, Fazoli's. Yeah.
Because they had the bottomless breadsticks.
Yeah. It's great. You'll like this. I found myself at a Red Robin recently.
Ooh, yum.
Yum. They really have, so bottomless steak fries, but their shtick now, which I hadn't been in a long time, is they give you like 4 to start.
Oh, yeah.
Like very little to start. So like you're going to order a refill, but truly your refill is like 1 full order of fries.
Yeah.
And then you're pretty good on fries.
Yeah, I went back to Red Robin for the first time. It's been 6 years or something. But I went back for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it didn't hold up. It was not as good as I remembered it.
Yeah.
Yum.
Ish.
But the bottomless fries,
they really are. I don't know how long ago. Within the last year, you did this?
No, it was like 7 years ago.
Oh, but they were the classic case of like, this menu is giant. You don't make anything great. There's no way that you're great at anything when you're offering 500 options.
And really, we went there for the fries.
Well, this their what is it? I was going to call it a salt. I don't know what it is. So you put on the fries that's on the table?
Oh, yeah, the seasoning stuff, yeah.
It's all right. Red Robin, big sponsor.
Not anymore.
Of the Bible is Funny podcast, and we're thankful for their support.
Gone.
Lost it. All right. Do we have anything else we need to discuss with the people before we start? The Bible together?
No.
The Bible. Let's do it. Exodus chapter 7. Pick picking up with our dear friend Moses. Exodus 7, chapter 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. You are to say everything I command you, and your brother Aaron is to tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out of his country."
Now, this starts off like I know I kind of go on some rants about like history's told by the winners, but this starts out like that, but like with brothers, where if Moses wrote it, which maybe he did, he's like, yeah, God told me that I'd be like God, and that
Right.
you, my brother, would be my prophet. You know, I mean, God said it. I didn't say, God said it.
Right.
So,
right.
why don't you go do my prophet stuff now?
Yes.
Why don't you go tell everybody about me, okay?
Oh yeah. You get that sense here. I do forget that Moses is the younger brother too. Yeah. So it's definitely some younger brother energy there. I'm just recounting what I was told. Verse 3, "But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt, he will not listen to you. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt, and with mighty acts of judgment I will bring out my divisions, my people the Israelites, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord, and when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring the Israelites out of it." Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded them. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh.
Just kids.
Really getting started. For grins, I thought, man, that seems old. I wonder who is 80 and 83 right now. So I kind of cast a movie right now.
Oh, okay.
With Moses and Aaron. Bob Dylan is trending right now because of the Timothée Chalamet movie. Bob Dylan is 83 and Rod Stewart is 80. So I think that's my
that's a good pair.
top casting for me.
So based on personality, I could see like a Larry David being the Moses here.
Moses, 100%.
This sort of social anxiety ridden, and then the cool, clean talking older brother could be Bill Murray. Just fun, really likable.
That's a good pairing.
I'd watch it.
Did you see Murray on the SNL 50 by any chance? Did you see his clip?
I didn't. I haven't seen it yet.
No, he was funny.
He's
still funny.
He's all time. He's the GOAT.
Still funny. It's crazy how some comedians, man, their timing doesn't age. It's wild. Verse 8. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "When Pharaoh says to you, 'Perform a miracle,' then say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will become a snake.'" A couple things I observed here. Again, there's just certain things. Moses maybe not in charge of the staff anymore. Maybe he lost. He was put in charge of the staff at one point. Seems like Aaron's the primary staff handler now, because he's saying to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down. Also, just to be commanded to perform a miracle.
Oh yeah,
that seems like to anticipate that is like.
Well, yeah, they God's telling them that when they go to see Pharaoh, Pharaoh's going to say, "Perform a miracle." And I, as it turns out, that's what I do to people when I greet them, is I just say, "Perform a miracle."
Yeah.
And that's how that's just how I greet people. But it's also how I get my kids to prove they love me.
They got to
perform a miracle, and that's how Daddy
something
will know
miraculous right now.
Do it.
Well, guess you're not serious.
Guess you don't really love me.
Wish you were taking this serious. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake.
I hope that was the only. Sorry to keep it around. I hope that was the only instruction God gave them. Like literally in the story, take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and it's going to become a snake.
Right.
And then because the next bit we get is, so then they went and did it.
Yeah.
If it's me, I'm asking some follow-up questions like, what do I do next? What do I do with this snake?
Right.
Do I turn it back into a staff afterward?
Right.
Like, are you going to give me some gloves that I can touch the snake because they're kind of icky?
That's funny. My brain goes to like my role, and it's like throw the staff down. Okay. Do I go like up first, and then so it goes down? Am I like Gronk spiking it?
Yeah.
How am I? Does it change the kind of snake? Is there like levels of like, well, you threw it kind of hard, so it became a constrictor? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What are the rules? I don't know the rules of the game, and I have a job, and I got to throw the staff down.
Just let it fall.
Do I just sort of set it?
I love it. I need stage direction too. Yeah. These are the follow-up questions that I hope that they asked, because again, they throw down this.
How many times do you think Aaron to his wife the night before was like, okay, run the line again? It's like, hey, do a miracle. I'll give you a miracle. Is it too much? Was that too much?
Yeah, it was exactly the same as you did the last time.
I want to get it right. Yet Pharaoh's heart became... Oh, wait. Sorry, verse 11. Pharaoh then summoned wise men and sorcerers, and the Egyptian magicians also did the same things by their secret arts. Each one threw down his staff, and it became a snake. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. That leaves me with some function questions as well.
Okay.
Just in that, I'm not a biologist. I'm not an entomologist.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the right word.
No.
Zoologist?
There's one.
I don't know reptiles as well as some. I have seen snakes swallow some things. Thanks to YouTube. It's very slow. They're not quick eaters. You know what I'm saying? They're very slowly pushing whatever they're eating down into the tube. So I'm just wondering if the process of like, we read this and it's like, feels kind of fast paced, but I wonder if in function, it was like Aaron staring these guys down as he sort of slowly digested their snake.
To be fair, they didn't have a whole lot of other stuff going on entertainment wise back then. So you probably sit around and watch a snake eat another snake for an hour and not think anything of it.
What if they broke for like a meal? And they were like, all right, it looks like the fight's over, but why don't we get lunch, all of us, and we'll come back and we'll see if anything changes.
And you know that's my snake, right? My snake's the one eating. Okay.
With your snake kind of half in there, and then the other guy's is back there. But let's go get food and then we'll come back.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's my wonder about the practical side. Also, did they just lose their staff?
Well, yeah, that's what I think. And then ultimately, at the end of this, Aaron and Moses are the only ones left with the staff now. And if it's anything like playground rules, you got the only stick. You're the boss.
What if they just keep coming in with more staffs? Like every time they show up to talk to Pharaoh, they have another staff, and then they have like two in this hand. Oh, are these guys your staffs?
And again, now, without direction from God to say, yeah, pick it back up, it'll become a stick.
Right.
Like, do I just let the snake live now? Is this now like a Tamagotchi that I have to take care of? What am I supposed to do with this snake? Is it just a wild snake? No, it doesn't have the adaptability to survive in the wild. It's been a stick its whole life. And
then how much does it like at the house, right? And there's like somebody cleaning up is like, you left your staff down again. You have to put it in the closet. No. Now we got another snake to take care of.
I don't know how to reverse this.
We have so many snakes to take care of at this point.
I told you to stop bringing sticks in the house.
It's all terrariums at this point. We have nowhere else. The cost of heat lamps is insane. A lot of follow-up questions, but this is what we're given and this is what we take. Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Also, big Jafar energy out of this. Remember with his... Mm-hmm. And then he became the snake. Mm-hmm. Verse 13. Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to them, just as the Lord said. Bum, bum, bum. Verse 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is unyielding. He refuses to let the people go.
Yes, God, because you made him do that.
He does say that. Yeah.
God says early on, I'm gonna make Pharaoh not listen to you. And then God comes in and says, well, Pharaoh's heart's unyielding. I don't know why. He just keeps refusing to let people go.
Yeah. It's a free will question in there that, again, I'm sure is dived into deep detail in
other podcasts.
Somebody else's podcast. But the verbiage is interesting, obviously with translations and stuff. Pharaoh's heart is unyielding. He refuses to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes out to the river. Confront him on the bank of the Nile and take in your hand the staff that was changed into a snake. Okay, fun note. They got the staff back. Then say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to say to you, let my people go so that they may worship me in the wilderness. But until now, you have not listened.
I wonder, is Pharaoh... This is kind of another logistical question. At the time,
go ahead.
Like Pharaoh is the king. Pharaoh's the big shot, big kahuna. Is Pharaoh really that accessible that you can just waltz up to Pharaoh as he's going down to the river? Like that's a normal practice, and he doesn't have a security team that's kind of protecting him from weirdos that might be approaching him as he goes to the river to bathe, to drink water, whatever he's doing by the river.
Right.
You just think he wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't that easy to just go get a hold of him. This is the number one dude in the whole world as far as they knew.
Sure, and you got to think like range weapons are not as much of a concern, right? If you're like a bow and arrow master, you're probably in the military.
Have the bows and arrows been invented now?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. There's probably a history podcast that really covers this much better. But like, I wonder without the presence of that, I mean, you're talking literally... Like, how many security people does it take to keep a person from, like, literally they have to be, like, within punching distance?
Yeah, there's something fishy going on here.
I think you're just like, this guy's okay. Let him through. He's fine. Watch the staff, though. Check the staff at the door. That's a good question, though. It is an interesting...
Hard-hitting questions we ask here.
Thing to think about. How did he know he was going to be there in the morning? Because God told him right here.
Everybody goes to the river.
Find him on the bank of the Nile, taking your hand the staff, and say to him, oh, you've not listened. Verse 17, we'll pick it back up. This is what the Lord says. By this you will know that I am the Lord. With the staff that is in my hand, I will strike the water of the Nile, and it will be changed into blood. The fish in the Nile will die, and the river will stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink its water. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, take your staff, reach out your hand over the waters of Egypt, over the streams and canals, over the ponds and all the reservoirs, and they will turn to blood. Blood will be everywhere in Egypt, even in vessels of wood and stone. Which I'm kind of familiar with the story. And that little tidbit, I was like, that is
gross.
Yeah. That's like, you think the Nile, the shorthand was always like, turns the Nile to blood, which is terrible and would be cataclysmic for any country in that vicinity. But then you're like, oh, you think you have bottled water in your house? That's blood now too. Check that out. Did you run a bath? Go look at that. Guess what that is now? It's like that. Everything's blood.
Yeah.
Definitely feels a little 0 to 100 to me. Again, the range of these is different. Actually, a long time ago, and we don't get into this because it's not our podcast, but there's something about how these coordinate with Egyptian deities and gods and things.
There's an Egyptian deities podcast out there somewhere that's just going to tackle this so well.
So good. But just on the read through, you go from like, I'm pretty serious. Watch this. It's a snake now. Careful with that. That's how serious I am. And then you're like, everything that keeps you alive will turn into blood. How about that? That's step 2. Just so you know. That's my second gear.
Right.
It's like, whoa, wowza. The whole country is now, all the water is blood.
Which also includes the people that Moses and Aaron are trying to be cool with and get them out of Egypt. Like, I have to imagine their water is turned into blood too.
Yeah, they're not denoted in this one.
No, I know. It doesn't. Later ones, we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm. I kind of think, that's why it got hot fast.
These were wild times
in Egypt. Verse 20, Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded. He raised his staff in the presence of Pharaoh and his officials. He struck the water of the Nile, and all the water was changed into blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the river smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink his water. Blood was everywhere in Egypt. The stinky note comes up twice, which again, it's not that it wouldn't be an issue. I'm just thinking if your primary water source turns into blood, I'm thinking of like a lot of things that would affect. And the stinkiness of it wouldn't be like top 5.
Oh, I would say it's top 5. Yeah.
Like how are we
everything's
plants?
Well, everything's dead now. When everything dies,
right,
it smells, and so you got people just puking all over the place.
Well, you're just thinking of like immediate consequences, and that's what it says. The fish in the Nile died, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I would say like, oh yeah, and then all the livestock died because we didn't have any water to give them, and then the plants all died. Like that would be the run for me, but I didn't write the Bible. But Moses, I think, wrote this book, and he says the fish in the Nile died, and the part you guys are going to want to remember is it was really stinky.
Right, but I'm just saying, if I go outside right now and there's 100 dead cows, it doesn't really affect me so much. It's sad, I suppose, for the cows. But where it does affect me immediately is how bad it smells, and so I'm going to be hurling on the sidewalk.
Also in 21, the way it's written here in the NIV per our custom, the river smelled, this is what it says, the river smelled so bad that the Egyptians could not drink its water. As if they were like going there, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And then it smelled so bad they couldn't do it.
I'm used to drinking blood, but not stinky blood.
It's too stinky. Verse 22, but the Egyptian magicians, help is on the way, did the same things by their secret arts. And Pharaoh's heart became hard. He would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord said. Okay, so they did the snake thing earlier, and I could see that alleviating, right? They work for Pharaoh, and they're trying to go like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. He turns a staff into a snake. We know some ways we can do that, and they kind of do it. For Pharaoh to call them in and be like, hey guys, the entire water supply is blood. I could use some help. Like, you guys can do things, right? So you fix that. And their move is they find water. They import water from nearby. They get it shipped in, and they're like, we got water. And he's like, oh, great, that's helpful. Watch, blood now.
But they're like, but ours is O negative. We're just the universal donor. So anybody can take this blood and inject it, and we have a transfusion possible.
I was trying to think of an example, and this is what I came up with, is if you called someone, if I was like, hey, Tim, I think I broke my leg. Could you help me out? And you came over and you said, oh, you think you broke your leg? You think that's special? You think it's hard to break your leg? And then you broke my other leg. Not so worried now, are you?
I can do that too.
Yeah, you thought it was like a big deal. You had one broken leg. Look how quickly it turned into two broken legs.
I do think we're quick to gloss over the ability of these other magicians to turn sticks into snakes too.
Yeah, right. It's a curious thing. What were they into?
Not easy.
What were they into? They're not into helping. That is one thing I walk away from this story convinced of.
No, magic is rarely useful. Watch any magician out there, and I promise you,
I have a top hat.
What they're doing and what they're saying is not useful.
I've got this top hat, but I wish I had a bunny. I wish there was something someone could do about that. That's when it would be helpful.
Right for food.
In front of him.
It's for food.
Pharaoh's heart became hard. He would not listen, as the Lord said. Instead, he turned and went into his palace. He didn't even take this to heart. And all the Egyptians dug along the Nile to get drinking water because they could not drink the water of the river. 7 days passed after the Lord struck the Nile. Interesting read. They never conclude the blood in the Nile story. Like the other ones we'll cover here. They kind of like have a resolution. The blood in the river never resolves. Verse 25, 7 days after the Lord struck the Nile. Hold that thought. Exodus chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh and say to him, this is what the Lord says, let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs on your whole country. The Nile will teem with frogs. They will come up into your palace and into your bedroom and into your bed and into the houses of your officials and on your people and near your ovens and your kneading troughs. The frogs will come up on you and your people and all your officials.
Yeah, it just seems like we jumped, like you said, we went to 100 miles an hour and then we backed down.
It's
like 50. Frogs.
Right.
That's doable. We can all tolerate frogs.
I don't know how much we're from Florida. We live in Florida, both of us. And we have frogs. We got frogs. That's a pretty common thing for us. And let me tell you, the jump scares are real because a frog will sit in one area for a long time. They're completely frozen, and then will jump out in front of you. So it's not fun.
Like a raptor.
But like a harmless, wart-giving raptor.
A bug-eating raptor. Yeah.
It's all a test. So yeah, you have I turned a staff into a snake. Like, that's pretty serious. Like, then you have I turned all the water into blood. Like, wow, that's crazy. And then it's there's a lot of frogs. Oh. I would say of the three.
This is unusual. Not
fun. I don't want them in my oven. Don't get me wrong. Nobody's asking for this one. But there's a lot of frogs. Frogs will come up on you and all your people and all your officials. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron. It is funny, that game of telephone every time. The Lord says to Moses to tell Aaron. Aaron's got to be like, we could just send the email straight to me. Like, you could just CC him and that would be effective. Tell Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the streams and canals and ponds and make frogs come up on the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt and the frogs came up and covered the land. But the magicians, the magicians are coming through. They did the same thing.
What?
By their secret arts. They also made frogs come up on the land of Egypt. Let me reiterate that. The land is overrunning with frogs. It's been overrun with frogs. They're in the ovens. They're in the cabinets. They're everywhere you turn. And the magicians came in to help. And the way that they helped was they made more frogs come up on the land of Egypt. Why are we calling them at this point?
Oh yeah, Pharaoh's got to be frustrated.
He's got to have a nephew that's a magician. There's no other way you can logically be calling these people when these emergencies pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Just for grins, I kind of came up with another comparison for the magicians in this scenario. This one is you say like, hey, I don't know. You call a guy, you say, hey, I don't know how it happened, but I think I got a raccoon up in my attic. So you can help me out? I don't know what to do about it. Guy comes out and he says, oh, you think it's so special? You got a raccoon in your attic? Guess what? You think it's hard to get a raccoon up in your attic? You think that's tricky? Well, I can put a raccoon in your attic too.
No, I didn't put the raccoon in there. I want you to get rid of the raccoon.
Yeah, you think it's so difficult to get raccoons in your attic? No. Well, I just dropped off a mate for that raccoon.
No,
guess what?
Oh.
And then she's pregnant. And you're going to have a whole family of raccoons.
That's not what I was asking you.
You're welcome.
I didn't invite you here to show off my raccoon.
You thought you were so special with a raccoon in your attic. Now you got a whole family of raccoons. That would be the equivalency of calling an Egyptian magician in your time of need.
Yeah, I do want to be an exterminator now, just so I can do that to people. Like, oh, how awesome! You got possums in your basement. Oh, you think you're so cool? I don't have any possums.
That would be a good like character to kind of come up, take the gloves off. Good news, got down there, found the possum. Bad news is, man, he was lonely. So
it's your open heart surgeon that's like, oh, you got a bad heart too? Well, watch this. Okay, no. Oh, this isn't a brag.
Right.
Not bragging about this. This is a problem, and I want it eliminated.
I want to tweak that this is just a good-hearted exterminator who every time he finds a critter, he can't kill it. In fact, he tries to make it more hospitable. He's like, I brought a friend. I brought another possum, and I hope that they'll be happy under there. Nature. Verse 8, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will let your people go offer sacrifices to the Lord. This is what I was kind of saying from earlier. He never does this with the blood, the river of blood. He was kind of like,
it'll flow down.
We'll drink milk. Forget about it. But the frogs he was not going to tolerate. He was like, can you please, with the frogs. So Moses said to Pharaoh, I leave to you the honor of setting the time for me to pray for you and your officials and your people, that you and your houses may be rid of the frogs, except for those that remain in the Nile. I leave to you the honor is a fun level of petty.
Oh, yeah.
To me. Like, that's a great... Oh, yeah. No, I'll take care of the frogs. When would you like them? Just doing my intake form. So you're saying the frogs are everywhere? Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, that sounds awful. And when did you want me to get rid of the frogs from overrunning your people in your land? Oh, as soon as possible. Oh, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me get that down.
Yeah, no, the message translation of this is very cinematic.
Oh, yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah. So I have to kind of read it in a kind of a gangster voice, but Pharaoh calls in Moses and Aaron said... Pharaoh called in Moses and Aaron and said, pray to God to rid us of these frogs. I'll release the people so they can make their sacrifices and worship God. Moses said to Pharaoh, certainly, set the time. When do you want the frogs out of here? Away from your servants and the people in all your houses. You'll be rid of the frogs, except for the ones in the Nile. Pharaoh said, make it tomorrow. Moses said, tomorrow it is. So you'll realize there's no God like our God. The frogs will be gone. Door slam and scene.
That's really...
Tomorrow it is. Make it tomorrow. Tomorrow it is.
Set the time. Tomorrow it is. Also, if you're Pharaoh, did you want one more night with the frogs? What's the thinking there?
I didn't think about that.
We said
next week.
I don't know.
You are the king of the world. You could say now.
I got a thing tonight.
We all got to do
my
lunch.
Show's on. Let's do tomorrow. The plague of frogs. First thing tomorrow. Will be fresh. You know what I mean?
Pharaoh's concerned about some of the frogs not being able to make it back to the Nile in time. Let's give them a chance to retreat.
They're safe. Oh, man. Tomorrow, Pharaoh said, verse 10. Moses replied, "It will be as you say, so that you may know there is no one like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you and your houses, your officials and your people. They will remain only in the Nile." I do love that little note. Of like, hey, I just want to be clear. Like, there will remain the customary amount of frogs.
Yeah, we do have an ecosystem to maintain. I think they all understood that.
Some of the fish eat the frogs. The crocodiles eat the fish. You get it. We need frogs. We do need the frogs. But I'll get rid of
not
the excess frogs. Okay. Down to 12. Right? Yeah. After Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh, Moses cried out to the Lord about the frogs he had brought on Pharaoh. And the Lord did what Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses, in the courtyards, and in the fields. They were piled into heaps, and the land reeked of them. So this is Egypt be stanky. Egypt be stanky here for a couple weeks for sure. But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart, would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said.
Yeah, I just don't see how dead frogs are better than live frogs.
True.
At any point.
And you're never, again, and I realize there's people like up north they don't interact with frogs. It's honestly hard to tell. Frogs look dead kind of all the time until they jump. But yeah, dead frogs, gross, in huge piles, nasty stuff.
Right. So, but you're like, hey, there are too many live frogs running around. What'll take care of that is if we just make them all die magically. Right here, right where they're at.
Right.
No, guys, this doesn't solve the problem. At least send like a bunch of storks or something to come eat the frogs and be rid of them and then fly away.
Yeah.
They need a better project manager on this.
The whole frog experience just feels a little petty with, like I said, with the like, yeah, you tell me when you want the frogs to be gone. And it's kind of like one of those like, yeah, I'll take care of the frog. You want me to take care of the frog? Yes. Could you take care of the frogs? Okay. Wherever they were, now they're dead. And you're like, exactly to your point. Like, oh, but they're still like in the house and stuff. Yeah, wherever they were, they're just dead there. So, I'm just busy. I love it. Verse 16. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the ground. And throughout the land of Egypt, the dust will become gnats." They did this, and when Aaron stretched out his hand with the staff and struck the dust of the ground, gnats came on people and animals. All the dust throughout the land of Egypt became gnats. But when the magicians tried to produce gnats by their secret arts, they could not. Mm-hmm. This is the one that got them. This is the one. This is what I think is curious about, like, going through the Bible like this. Is it like you were hinting at, right? They made a snake come out of a staff. That's what it says. They made water into blood. They made frogs appear out of nothing. There's some interesting stuff they got going on. But then, like,
stuck on the nets.
Kind of imperceptible bugs. Mm-hmm. That's the one they could not quite manage.
I want to know what they were producing when they tried to make gnats. Like, what actually
did they
happened?
Accidentally make?
Did they get termites? Did they get a moth? And they were like, stupid freaking moth. It's not even a butterfly.
That's such a great question.
Because something had to happen. It's not like they're...
Hey, boss, over here. Is this a gnat? That's a hippopotamus, Jeremy. I asked you to make a gnat. This is a literal hippopotamus. You know what a hippopotamus is. Sorry, boss. Hey, boss. Is this a gnat? Please, something. Oh, my gosh.
It's a bunch of fingernails.
This is literally fingernails. A pile of fingernails. Sorry, I was clipping my nails. Looked like a gnat to me.
This little Italian magician in the middle of Egypt.
And then Pharaoh's like, so did you do it? Did you get one? Best I can do is hippopotamus, which is bigger significantly. Again, I don't want to assume everybody knows everything. I know I certainly don't, but we do. Now I kind of want to look at a map and see where Florida hits Egypt. We have gnats. That's the thing we have. And it really is the worst. Like, I got to say, if we're measuring like on a Richter scale, I would say gnats way worse than frogs for me personally, because they swarm. There's like 1 million of them, and you don't really see them coming at all. You're just like walking along, and they're like in your eyeballs and up your nose.
Maybe the magicians, as I rethink about this, it was like a moral dilemma, and they were like, yeah, can't make more gnats.
I don't want to make.
They don't want more gnats because they have to be swarmed by gnats when they do that.
Right.
Nobody wants that.
Gnats are the worst. I really do believe that. Like
I thought pollen was the worst.
Oh, pollen is the worst. In truth. That's the silent killer. That doesn't affect everybody like it affects me. Nobody has a positive feeling on gnats. Like, nobody. And it'll just be like, why are there gnats? Because it rained an hour ago. Why? Like, that doesn't make any sense, really. But there they are. You're walking along in this beautiful park, and then you're like having this great conversation with, you're like, man, this is really great. So sorry. I'm back. What happened? I walked through a thing of bugs that are this big. Smallest thing you can imagine. Verse 18.
Come visit Florida.
Yeah, anyway, it's great down here. You should move. Since the gnats were on people and animals everywhere, the magician said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. That is a great follow-up. But Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he would not listen, just as the Lord had said. The magicians, not only could they not do it, they were like, this is the real, I gotta tell you. I thought we could hang, but this is some Steph Curry stuff at this point. Like, we're not in the same league. Gnats? No way, Jose. Verse 20. Then the Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning and confront Pharaoh as he goes to the river. Pharaoh's got to adjust the morning routine. He's going to start hating these morning trips to the river. And say to him, this is what the Lord says, let my people go so that they may worship me. If you do not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies on you and your officials, on your people, and into your houses. The houses of the Egyptians will be full of flies. Even the ground will be covered with them. But on that day, I will deal differently with the land of Goshen, where my people live. No swarms of flies will be there, so that you will know that I, the Lord, am in this land. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign will occur tomorrow.
Meanwhile, God's people are going, you could have spared us from all this the whole time?
That was an option the whole time?
You put a little, like, a geofence around us. You could have done that with the frogs and with the blood and with the gnats.
Yeah.
And the snakes and the dead frog. No, but okay, no flies though. Okay.
A tough message maybe for Moses to deliver.
Right.
Hey, so this one's gonna be a bad one, but you're not gonna get this one. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That's funny. I also like maybe a little bit more pettiness in 23 from Pharaoh's, like, take care of the frogs tomorrow. And then Moses comes in there talking for God, and it's like, we're going to go ahead and do it tomorrow. So, you can get some sleep tonight, I guess, or whatever.
The flies are coming.
The flies. Lord of the flies. And the Lord did this. Dense swarms of flies poured into Pharaoh's palace and into the house of his officials. Throughout Egypt, the land was ruined by the flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, go, sacrifice to your God here in the land. But Moses said, that would not be right. Sacrifices we offer the Lord our God would be detestable to the Egyptians. And if we offer sacrifices that are detestable in their eyes, will they not stone us? We must take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God as he commands us. Kind of funny that, after we've seen the entire river turn into blood and mounds, pyramids of dead frogs everywhere you turn, he's like, I don't want to like slaughter the sheep around them. They would think that's gross.
They'd kill us for that.
Don't you think they would think that's gross? Even if it meant all the horrible stuff would stop happening to them? Pharaoh said, I will let you go offer sacrifices to the Lord your God in the wilderness, but you must not go very far. Now pray for me.
That's the one I like. It makes me kind of think about this relationship they had a little bit more, and I'll come to that. We'll get to the conclusion later. My hot take.
Okay.
But yeah, this image of like, no, I'm not gonna let your people go. You're stuck here. My heart is hard. Can you scratch my back though? Like right here, I've got this little, just right in the corner. I can't reach it. The little hand thing hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah. They were doing the pyramids, but they didn't get it all figured out.
Didn't do the back scratcher.
Yeah. Now pray for me. It's definitely a funny addition in 28. 29, Moses answers, as soon as I leave you, I'll pray to the Lord, and tomorrow the flies will leave Pharaoh and his officials and all his people. Only let Pharaoh be sure that he does not act deceitfully again by not letting the people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord. All this, it's just so funny to me. Honestly, I didn't even have it in my notes initially, but all this tomorrow talk. So we'll take care of that tomorrow. What is stopping us from doing it right now? Why do we have to put everything off? Verse 30, then Moses left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord did what Moses asked. The flies left Pharaoh and his officials and his people. Not a fly remained.
Not a fly remained.
Love that. Verse 31. But this time also, Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not let the people go. And honestly, what my thought on that is chapter 8 comes to a close. It's like, and maybe it's a transition into like what I learned today. I just wish that I stuck with anything as much as Pharaoh sticks with not letting these people go. I'm not ever going to be as persistent on a subject as Pharaoh is with not letting these people go.
You're right. You do give in pretty easily.
I cave. And this is next level.
I mean, it was the free labor of all of his empire.
Right? I mean, there's some real maniacal, nasty overlord stuff going on, which I understand is, motivating it, but...
But gnats.
I mean, at some point, you would think. I don't know if that's officially what I learned today, but anyway, Tim, what'd you learn today? What do we need to talk about?
What I learned today... Okay, what I learned today is a little bit more of a hot take. So... Hear me out.
Hot takes with Tim.
So Pharaoh, the main dude in the whole land, the king of the world at this point.
King of Egypt, yeah.
He could have killed Moses and Aaron at any point.
Sure.
Could have. Easily done it. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they were approaching him at the river, whatever.
Yeah.
Any point.
Right.
Hey, before you give me more frogs, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
And I got people for that.
Right.
But they keep coming to him with more and more magic tricks that are plaguing his people. One worse than the other. He doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
My take it's a little theory, is that he's actually poaching them to be on his staff. Because he knows how dumb his magicians are.
Whoa.
And he's like, hey, look, if we can kind of carry on this banter and this relationship, because there's talk. They're friendly talking.
Whoa.
I
love this
I
take.
think he's like, I would like you to come work for me. But he can't, right away. Yeah.
That's so... Tim, you've had some hot takes on this show. And that is far and away my favorite. He obviously loves magicians. He's into this thing.
He's got him on staff. He needs a new regime. He needs somebody else to step in.
I know, again, this is not the podcast for it. I did a little research just in background for this. Because the Prince of Egypt, fantastic film, posits
the documentary?
that they're brothers. And history has pretty clearly defined they're not brothers.
Who is?
Moses and the sitting Pharaoh.
Oh.
Because Moses is raised by, at the time, Pharaoh's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
But they're it's not that way. Mm-hmm. It worked out really great for their story. And so, but you are interested, right? Because Moses has got, per the story, he's got all these Egyptian, you grew up in an Egyptian house, he's going to have some good connections to what they got going on. And I think the concept that there would be some unwritten, well, what if you don't have to take these people away from here. Well, you can keep them right here. You can be my magic guy. Mm-hmm. That's such a good take. Oh my gosh, I love that.
That's what I'm here for. Hot takes.
That's really good. I think I'm going to stick with my original thought. I didn't really have another observation. I do like, though, just to I don't know, I hate tooting your horn this much at the end of the podcast, but the beginning of 7 and the the Lord said to Moses, it's the line in 7:1, see, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. This feels a little bit like he's jabbing at Aaron. Just a hair. Just establishing a pecking order to the whole operation. That seemed like we didn't need it. Like, we were working fine. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. But, yeah. We all learned a lot today.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's
As
good
I always
stuff.
do.
This was good. This was a fun one. All right. Well, if we missed anything from Exodus 7 and 8, let us know. At The Bible is Funny on Instagram and TikTok.
I think with our very thorough observations and keen eye for detail and intellectual abilities that go beyond measure, I don't think we missed anything.
It doesn't seem to me like we did, but there's always the chance. At The Bible is Funny on Instagram and TikTok. Let us know your thoughts. Share with us your observations. Love to hear from you. Also want to say here at the close, we are still continuing to partner with Compassion International to as a Bible is Funny family, trying to sponsor 100 kids this year from the country of Brazil. You can head to compassion.com/BibleIsFunny. It's also a link in the show notes, and you can get more information on that, or you can sponsor a kid, change a kid's life. Today, you can start doing that. Compassion.
Not tomorrow.
Well, you could. You know what? Let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. And I think we're supposed to do it. We're going to record another podcast right now. After
tomorrow.
You want to do it tomorrow? We'll do it tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll do it then. Okay. Bye.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. I love you. Tomorrow.
Don't say it. Stop singing. Every podcast you sing, nobody wants it. It's not like Christopher Walken when he dances in every film. Nobody likes it when you sing.
The Bible is for